I grew up the youngest of 9, but there's also a 5-year age gap between me and the next youngest. Everyone else is like a year or two apart. This means that I am the baby of the family, and no one wants to play with the baby. They want to play with those who are closer in age to them, and I wasn't. We also lived in the middle of nowhere, and no families with young children lived nearby, so I just played by myself a lot. I never really saw other children unless it was at church or my cousins came, and those were the only kids same age as me, but I didn't really see them that often, so even when I started school, I was still by myself a lot. I didn't really like the other kids, and I didn't talk much, so they didn't pay attention to me. As I grew up, I did make friends, but I still kept to myself, and I didn't talk about, deeper thoughts and feelings. I also tried to avoid thinking about the future. Didn't know what I wanted to do, and I never really went out much, so it's hard to imagine how I was supposed to just leave and start my life. And, I kind of lived in the moment. I don't mean I was like reckless. What I mean by that is that I didn't think about the past or the future. All that mattered was what was going on right then. Now that I'm older, I still think like that a lot. I've thought my way through so many different lives, but I'm still so unsure. Yes, by Deborah Greger. Yes, your childhood now a legend of fountains. Jorge Guillen. Yes, your childhood, now a legend gone to weeds, still remembers the gray road that sent out to cross the desert of the future, and how, always just ahead, gray water glittered, happy to be just a mirage. Who steps off the gray bus at the depot? Sidewalks shudder all the way home, blinds close their scratchy eyes. Who settles in your old room? Sniffy air sprawls as if it owns the place, and now your teenage secrets have no one to tell, for the spider lays laying claim to the corner. There's a stickiness to spin that the living may beg to be wrapped in silk and devoured, leaving not even the flinch from memory. When I first read this poem, I was struck by how childhood and adulthood were presented. Other poems talk about how childhood is the sweetest time in life, and how children are so happy, but it's not always like that. Sure, I didn't have it as bad as some people do, but my childhood wasn't great. There are happy memories, but I was always so alone. My childhood was not the best time of my life, and my journey to adulthood was pretty gray too. I never settled on a plan for the future. I only created fancy fantasies to dream about and use as material for when someone did ask me what I wanted to do with my life. The third stanza of the poem reminds me of my childhood home. It was run down and overcrowded, but it has since been torn down and our new home built on top. I was fine with the house when we lived in it, but now I think back on it with dismay. I didn't really like it. I only liked the land it was built on. Now the house is gone, and no person can settle in my old room. Only memories still hang around. And like those mentioned in the last stanza, I don't want the memories to go away. They are bittersweet, sweet in the moment, but bitter to think on now. They make me who I am, and I don't want to forget where I came from, even if the act of forgetting isn't so unpleasant. I will hang on to what is mine, even if it does mean more harm than good. Yes, by Deborah Greger. Yes, your childhood now a legend of fountains. Jorge Guillen. Yes, your childhood, now a legend of gone to weeds, still remembers the gray road that set out to cross the desert of the future, and how, always just ahead, gray water glittered, happy to be just a mirage. Who steps off the gray bus at the depot? Sidewalks shudder all the way home, blinds close their scratchy eyes. Who settles in your old room? Sniffy air sprawls as if it owns the place, and now your teenage secrets have no one to tell. For the spider laying claim to the corner, there's a stickiness to spin, that the living may beg to be wrapped in silk and devoured, leaving not even the flinch from memory.